There are many things happening in our world that just simply cannot be explained. Whether people have theories or try to logically explain certain occurrences, there is certainly no current and agreed upon explanation for 4 disappearances at Lakeview High. Well, 6 technically, if you count the 2 staff members who have also been reported missing from the school. The only hint and indicator of what could have possibly happened to these 6 was a blood stain found on the school's floor and the mess left behind in the detention room. 4 students were reportedly staying late for detention, but were never seen again, along with the principal and a janitor. There are many theories circulating around what happened to these 6 missing people and their disappearance. Some people believe that a murder may have taken place, possible kidnapping, or maybe they all decided to run away. Though not many of these theories have very good explanations or any evidence backing up said theories. It's still discussed today, and the police are still looking out for these 6 missing individuals. But what if there was a deeper explanation to what happened to these 6 on that fateful night when it all happened, when they all disappeared? Veronica, Callum, Iman, and Aquil. Veronica Ayala, the mean girl. Fake it till you make it. That was something Veronica was all too familiar with. Being the middle child, it was easy for her to be glanced over at home. Her older brother growing up quickly, and her younger sister taking up the rest of her parents' time. She seemed to just fade away from their minds completely. Obviously, they loved her. She knew that. But if they didn't show it, did it even matter? Probably not. But that wouldn't stop her from trying. Veronica knew that if she could just become the person they wanted her to be, maybe she would matter a little more to them. Maybe they would finally recognize her as their child, instead of someone who just lives in their house and occasionally eats dinner with them. Slowly but surely, she began to change. But is change always good? She thought so, but those around her would definitely disagree with just how much she did change. The first to notice these changes was Iman. Although the two weren't ever really that close to begin with, Veronica's behavior towards her became more passive-aggressive. It was like Veronica thought she was better than her, and Iman hated it. Truthfully, Veronica didn't care. She was happy with the way things were going. Amazing grades. The boyfriend of her dreams. It didn't matter anymore. But beneath the surface, trouble was brewing. Rose Ross, one of Veronica's closest friends, the two drifted apart with a nasty fight, and it hurt her more than she would let on. But Veronica was far too caught up in herself to even notice what she had done. She only made it worse when she posted a private and humiliating video of her to help fit in with the new friends she had found. The last time Veronica ever saw her, the girl's eyes were filled with hurt and her cheeks were tear-stained. For a brief moment, Veronica felt bad, but as days turned into weeks and Rose still hadn't come back to school, Veronica figured she had probably just transferred. But she couldn't have been more wrong. The truth about Rose is something Veronica would never want anyone else to find out about, because she knows it's something she wouldn't be able to come back from. After being caught loitering with Iman, Callum, and Aquil, the 4 of them were sentenced to detention. But what happened was something no one could have possibly seen coming, and before Veronica knew it, she was running for her life. But nobody can outrun the mist. Callum Gallagher, the jock.
We'll always support you, Cal.
His mom's voice was soft. He could hear her faintly. A distant memory. Groggy eyes opened to reveal Aquil sleeping next to him. The boy looked peaceful, and the redhead could only smile as he admired his sleeping face. He looked so cute, and Callum just wanted to hug him. Although he could restrain himself from the hug, he couldn't hold back from nuzzling into him as he shut his eyes again. It was too early to wake up, so he tried to sleep again, but his mind was racing with memories of his mom's death. She'd fought hard against the cancer, but everyone knew that in the end, it would get her one day. His other mom was devastated when she finally passed. Although Callum was young, he knew that a part of him had died that day. It was too hard to remember, but impossible to forget. But he knew he couldn't let her down, and he needed to grow into the caring young man she had always wanted him to be. So when people treated him poorly, he pushed it down. He never let anyone get the best of him, and always kept his head up high for the next day. Things will get worse before they get better. That was something he knew, and it was something he tried to express to those around him. Besides, he had everything you could ever need in life. A great best friend, the best girlfriend in school, the star position on the football team, and he had good grades. So why did it feel like something was missing? Maybe it was because deep down he knew Aquil was more than a friend, or because he knew Euronica was an awful person. Or maybe it was because he hated football, and he didn't have to work for his grades, because Aquil basically carried him throughout high school. But those were things he didn't want to dwell on. At least, that's what he thought. But that one fateful afternoon in detention, he found himself thinking about it all before the mist closed in. If he had had another chance, would he have done things differently? He sure hoped so. Iman Atiya, the Wallflower. Iman was never afraid to venture where others wouldn't. Although the darkness may be scary to others, she found it comforting. Not many other people could understand, though, and she often found herself being ridiculed in school. That's why it was surprising to her when Euronica asked if she wanted to hang out one day. Without thinking much of it, she decided to do it. It would prove to be the worst and the biggest mistake of her life. A slippery slope began as Iman was exposed to just how cruel Euronica could be. She bullied people without caring, and sometimes Iman wondered why the bully even kept her around. But then she realized that it was really all an act. She just wanted to look good to others, so hanging out with a loser definitely helped her. She didn't mind, though. She had grown to like Aquil and Callum, and the four of them were their own little group. But like all things, it crumbled. One afternoon of detention. That's all it was. It wasn't supposed to be anything major, just in and out. At least, that's what Iman thought. But just as they were getting ready to go, they heard a sound of wood scraping the hall outside. Callum was the first to go and peer out, immediately scrambling back inside as he slammed the door shut. The laughter that came after is something that haunts Iman even now. The principal was outside, a smile plastered on his face that seemed almost unnatural. He didn't hesitate to slam open the door as his eyes immediately darted to Euronica.
No, get away from her!
The redhead's shouts fell on deaf ears as he tried to push him back, only to end up getting thrown off to the side himself.
This is for Rose.
The principal shouted as he raised up the weapon he had made himself, bringing it down but missing as Euronica moved to the side. All four students scattered as Iman went for the stairs, but as she reached the end, she saw a horrifying sight. The janitor was dead. She couldn't hold in her scream. She began running forward down the hall, not realizing that each step was only bringing her closer to the mist. The 6 disappearances remain a mystery, even to this day. Aquil Che, the nerd. If being yourself was easy, everyone would do it. The words took Aquil back as he turned on the bed he was sharing with Callum, staring into the boy's eyes as he tried to process what he had just said. Despite the fact his words hit hard, the lighter-haired of the two still wore a goofy grin, without even realizing it. "What?" he asked while maintaining his smile, Blue's eyes sparkling even in the pale moonlight. Quill paused before shaking his head. It's nothing. Good night, Callum. The jock seemed a little confused as he wrapped his arms around the smaller boy, holding him close as he snuggled into his shoulder. Good night, Quill. Callum fell asleep quickly, but Quill couldn't stop his beating heart. It felt as though it was going to burst with each pump. He began to grow sick of this feeling of wanting, followed by a feeling of sadness. How could someone be so oblivious? As he glanced down to look at Callum's sleeping face, he couldn't find it in himself to be upset with him. How could he? It's not like he knew how Quill felt, and the boy had no intentions of ever telling him. He looked up at the ceiling and let out a heavy sigh as he finally shut his tired eyes and tried to get some sleep. The next morning, he woke up and put on his face. The face he used whenever he left the house. The face he used whenever he wasn't alone. No matter who it was, his parents, his sister, Callum, everyone knew the face, and just that. He longed to finally be able to take it off, but he knew it would be more trouble than it was worth, so he didn't. He went to school and went about his day. Everything was fine. It was going well, but one horrible afternoon in detention would ruin everything. It would ruin things just like him being himself would. No matter what happens, things will be ruined. Maybe that's why, when he realized that the mist was closing in, he accepted it and shut his eyes.